PTSD is something that we certainly see a lot within our veteran population as well as other populations. And I can tell you a lot of stories. I can think of 2 right off the top of my head.
Perfect.
And one is actually a woman that lives in Utah and had not left her home in many years. She was a mom, but she was not feeling comfortable to be able to go to the grocery store and do those things. And luckily she had bonded with another female veteran who was coming up to one of our camps. We write a grant so that we can receive funding to provide programming for free at times for our veterans. So she had convinced her to come up for a 2-hour experience on our campus. And she explained to us that she backed out of the driveway and drove back in and backed out of the driveway. And, and that's one of the hardest parts, right? Is just getting you to us. And so she did that, and she came up and she bonded with a bunch of other female veterans on our property. And from there, we talked to her about an overnight experience. She then came back and spent a full week with us of programming, and then brought her whole family back. And I think that is just an amazing story of one, being able to meet her where she was, support her. And as she said, saved her life in many ways, brought her life back to her for her to feel comfortable to leave her house again.
Welcome to Motivational Monday, conversations with me, David Ibarra, and my special guest today, Tracy Meier from the National Ability Center. Boy, we're going to have a great conversation.
We are.
Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your organization, what you do, what are the benefits, what's your purpose statement?
Great question. Well, we are celebrating our 40th anniversary. So for 40 years, we have been running adaptive sports programs based mostly in Park City, but expands throughout the state of Utah. So our mission is about empowering people with disabilities to ultimately live their best lives. So when we think about that, it's such a wide range of impact, not only for the person, but for their families and friends as well.
So the first part of adaptive means adapting to the elements, adapting to participate in the things that we oftentimes take for granted?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say option C, it's all of the above. So what we're looking at is how do we make accessibility an option for individuals who have disabilities, whether that's a visible or invisible disability. About 30% of who we serve are those that served our country. Another 30% are those with intellectual disabilities or those with neurodiversity. And then everything in between. Last year alone, we served over 81 different types of disabilities. So when we adapt, we're adapting how we're teaching, how we're supporting someone, meeting them at their level. Then we also have an amazing opportunity with adaptive equipment. And that allows us to say yes. So someone that needs a different piece of equipment to be able to go on a bike ride or to be able to go out and go whitewater rafting or ride a horse or skiing or snowboarding. All of those things come together for us to make it a really successful experience.
Whitewater rafting.
Everybody deserves to go down the river, right?
I'm going to stay on shore.
And that's okay too, challenge by choice. But we have an amazing program that's based out of Moab, where we run 7 different river sections. So single day trips to multi-day opportunities to disconnect, from the everyday life and connect with each other, which is really important.
Well, tell me a little bit, we would take for granted that we all know why this is important. And I don't want to do that. I want you to talk a little bit about the experiences about somebody that is experiencing this, whether it's a disability, whether it's a handicap, whatever it is. What are some of the stories that you were shared of how somebody feels looking from the outside in and not participating?
I think it's important for us to first think about disability. And sometimes people think like, oh, that's for the neighbor down the street. It doesn't resonate with me. But I'd challenge that. 1 in 4 Americans has a disability. And it's the one
1 in 4?
Yeah. And
wow.
It's
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, the one demographic we can all join. So it does not discriminate. And I think when we think about it that way, you would want a place that supports and empowers, a place that you feel welcome and helps you to achieve your goals. Recreation has a lot of amazing benefits, right? Being in nature, feeling the accomplishment of a goal, whether that's joining a group.
Particularly us here in Utah.
Yes. Yeah.
National parks and things that are available that we just sometimes just don't take advantage of.
Exactly. And so our job is to figure out how can everyone take advantage. It might be a little bit different, right? It might take some adjustments and us trying a couple of different things. But when I think of families, one of my favorite over the 23 years is a family that calls and says, we used to be a skiing family, or we used to do this. And now a loved one has acquired a disability, or a loved one is born with a disability. And they say, can we still ski? Can we still snowboard together? And I love being able to say yes. It might look a little bit different, but that's our job, to figure that out. And I think through that, it's not always about climbing to the very top of the wall or skiing the steepest slope or riding on the hardest trail, but it can be, because that's an opportunity too, if that's your goal. But the connection that brings to a family or to an individual, and then that ripples into so much more of your life, right?
Just the thought of being inclusive. Everyone in your family, every loved one belongs with every outing.
Yes.
To be able to participate and to not participate. I mean, I can't even imagine the emotion that one would feel and feel like they have to get used to feeling like that. It's just not necessary.
It isn't. That's what we're all about.
Tell me about how the program got started. I see it's 40 years old. How did this all come about?
Well, it came about with a dream and a lot of hard work. So our co-founders, Michi White and Pete Badowitz, were traveling across the country and looking to find the right place to start a program. And they drove into a few different towns, but pulled into the town of Park City. And they got that energy and that feeling that this was going to be the place. And I'd have to say they did pick the right place, right? So in 1985, they established the organization out of their home. And then that, rippled into a lot of different opportunities, and started with skiing and snowboarding in the very beginning. That was serving veterans. Pete is a Vietnam veteran. And also serving locals with disabilities. And so from there, again, that need, we think that maybe it's not out there, but it is, that came into schools and others needing the support of adaptive recreation. And then that has grown into what you now see, 21 different programs running year round. We're serving close to 6,000 people a year. And that's not just from the state of Utah. We have people traveling here on vacations and people traveling from out of state and internationally in some cases to come and recreate with us.
Do you have branches outside of Utah? Do you have any international branches, or is that a thought for the future?
Sure. Our future is that we want to make sure we serve as many people as possible. Our only headquarters are based in Park City and in Moab, but we have branches or, extensions of what we've done by working with other programs while they have their own name and their own identity of an organization, but sharing best practices and training techniques. And we've written grants so that we can go internationally and work on adaptive sports programs in those locations. And even more so, how we're viewing people with disabilities. There's a huge barrier, right, to what people think someone can or should be doing, especially in other countries. And so we've had a great opportunity in a few other countries to bring sport there.
Oh, that's very cool. Tell me about how you got into this. What obviously you were thinking about what you want to do as a career or whatever. How did this all come about?
Well, for myself and for many of our staff, our journeys have been somewhat similar. Went to school for, you wanted to help people. And I originally thought that was going to be through physical therapy. And luckily I had that professor who said, have you heard of recreational therapy? And at the time I had not. And so I took that first class. I'm from the East Coast. So I took a class there and I was like, this is it. I love sport. I love people. I loved working with people with disabilities from a young age. And through that, I needed to complete a 14-week internship to gain my certification. And so I had looked up, who had the most adaptive sports programs, where was a unique place for me to go off of the East Coast, because I hadn't really traveled that much. And so I thought I would be in Park City for 14 weeks.
I see.
That happened to be the 2002 games, which was a really wonderful time to be here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then right after the games is where we have the
Paralympics. 3 weeks after the Olympics is the Paralympics. And so I was able to see that for the first time and just fell in love with the National Ability Center as a whole. You feel part of a family there, and that's what we want everyone to feel when they come through our doors, whether that's volunteering or participating. And that turned into 23 years later.
Wow. So where were you from the East? What was the name of the university that you were studying at?
I'm from Virginia originally, so I would tell you probably more of a beach girl at heart than I was a mountain girl. I went to school in North Carolina at East Carolina University, and then, made that drive across the country.
Where is that located?
It's in Greenville, North Carolina.
Okay, I did a lot of work in Kinston, North Carolina, which is close to Greenville.
Yeah. So I came here. My husband was competing in the 2002 games. I met him through the National Ability Center, and then that led to the next year, and have had the privilege ever since to be a part of this family.
So tell us a little bit about the beginning. You started as an intern, then what happened, and give us a summary of the 20 years.
Well, with all things, right, it's sometimes saying yes. Like I said, we say to our families. And so after that 14 weeks, there was an opportunity to join on as part-time and work at our high ropes course and do a few different things in the office. So I said, well, sure, why not? And then that led to getting introduced a little bit more to our ski and snowboard program, which I really loved. I loved to see, what potential and what opportunity that program brought. So I really dived into that, and then had the opportunity to run that program with another amazing manager for 8 years. And then our co-founder said, we need to start summer camp. Every kid deserves the right to go to camp. Tracy, you're going to start summer camp. And I thought, oh, okay, that's what we're going to do. So created that summer camp option, and then moved into training and education. And then about 9 years ago, moved into overseeing all of our programs and having the opportunity to work with all of our teams, across the 21 programs.
Wow, that's cool. Now I'd like to move into a couple of different categories.
Okay.
And tell me some of the best practices that led to a story that was unique and ought to be heard.
Okay.
Let's start with veterans.
All right. For our veteran-based population, I think there's also the thoughts of, is this the place for me, right? And having the opportunity to build your new team, when you're joining into back to civilian life and that sort of thing. And so it's a huge part of who we serve. We have an on-site lodge that allows for people to come and stay on our 26-acre ranch. And so when I think about that, certainly there's a lot of different diagnoses when we see amputations and spinal cord injuries, traumatic brain injuries, and post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is something that we certainly see a lot within our veteran population, as well as other populations. And I can tell you a lot of stories. I can think of two right off the top of my head.
Perfect.
And one is actually a woman that lives in Utah and had not left her home in many years. She was a mom, but she was not feeling comfortable to be able to go to the grocery store and do those things. And luckily she had bonded with another female veteran who was coming up to one of our camps. We write a grant so that we can receive funding to provide programming for free at times for our veterans. So she had convinced her to come up for a 2-hour experience on our campus. And she explained to us that she backed out of the driveway and drove back in and backed out of the driveway. And, and that's one of the hardest parts, right, is just getting you to us.
Start.
And so she did that, and she came up and she bonded with a bunch of other female veterans on our property. And from there, we talked to her about an overnight experience. She then came back and spent a full week with us of programming, and then brought her whole family back. And I think that is just an amazing story of one, being able to meet her where she was, support her. And as she said, saved her life in many ways, brought her life back to her for her to feel comfortable to leave her house again. I think that's really impactful. Again, much more than just recreation. It's a lifelong
when it comes
impact.
to veterans, it's very interesting, and certainly, politics isn't something I want to talk a lot about.
Oh, good, me
because
either.
there's a division, and a huge one. But we talk about honoring our troops, and it doesn't matter whether it's what administration. It is just, to me, so shameful that our actions don't meet the words, because when a veteran has given that kind of commitment and has taken that kind of sacrifice, and then finds themselves oftentimes alone because of funding or what have you, it just seems to be all wrong. Do you get much help from our federal government or state government in assisting?
We do. So we have the opportunity to write for a federal grant. And so we have received that over many, many years, which again allows us to break down the barrier of the financial impact,
Right.
not only for our veterans, but for the rest of our participants as well. The scholarships are a really big part of what we do because that equipment I talked about, medical expenses, life is expensive.
Right.
And so sometimes people put recreation on the back burner, and we know the benefits. And so being able to say, hey, we can support you on the financial side.
I can't think of anything better than the outdoors and participating. And, there's two kinds of compensation in our lives. Certainly currency and income is one, but the other bigger one is relationships and experiences. And when somebody feels that they're lost both and aren't having the relationships and gets that back, I can't think of anything that would help overcome the trauma of the sacrifice that you gave, is to be able to realize you still get to have experiences and relationships, the greatest compensation.
Connection and community, I agree.
Yeah.
At what age do you wish you had unlocked the principles that lead to success? Where do you think you'd be today if you had learned them as a child? Yes, Our Kids Can is a program developed at Harvard and tested in San Antonio's school systems, designed to give children of all backgrounds the opportunity to plant the seeds for future success, using learning techniques they understand and enjoy. Through engaging animated stories, fun sing-along songs, and interactive games, Yes, Our Kids Can teaches your child the empowering, success-driven principles needed to reach their full potential. Don't miss this opportunity to give your children the future they deserve. Yes, Our Kids Can is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Sign up today and help make your child's dreams a reality.
Would you like to hear that other veteran story?
I certainly would.
It's actually coming up here soon. We have had the opportunity to partner, which again would be one of the things I would say is really important in our success is partnerships. And we have worked with a group called Creative Vets. And Creative Vets does kind of relationship building and storytelling through music. So they bring out singer and songwriters from Nashville.
Wow.
And they'll connect with a group of our veterans that are on campus. They'll spend the entire day, but only one day. They meet together and decide whatever story it is that they want to share, which can be very, heartbreaking. They can be very passionate and involved. And again, it's their story. They will write a unique song to their experience, and then they perform that song that night. And talk about a therapeutic, amazing environment for this group of individuals to be able to work together.
And you can, everybody's talking about artificial intelligence and what have you. And I just don't like the label of it, because what it is being able to get us to be able to research and use tools more instantly than before. But it's still your creativity. It's still your words. But recently I was working, and I love to work, so I work a lot of hours, and about 70 hours a week, and I like it. But when you get busy in the end of the week, sometimes you go, you're just tired. And
Sure. I
had gotten something from somebody that I had been mentoring for 24 years, and it was just a picture of me with something, and I'm saying, oh, that's odd. And I just kept, and I didn't know I was supposed to just click on it, and he had written a song and used but the lyrics and then putting the music, and man, and the impact of hearing what someone else experienced, even though it's about you and with you, there's just no better gift than that, to have somebody to be able to, through song, through music, to listen and have the words explain a life, an experience. Man, that's powerful.
It is powerful. Yes. Yeah.
So how many songs have you seen this program produce?
Oh, gosh, that's a great question. Quite a few. I've had the opportunity to be at 4 different Creative Vets concerts at the National Ability Center, and we would hear, 5 to 6 to 7 songs each conference or at each concert. And so
this story that you were sharing with us, is there a chance we could have access to the song?
Yes, they do. They do provide access to some of those songs. I'd be happy to share with you.
Because what I would like to do is during the story, I'd like to pause and play it.
Okay.
And hear it.
Yeah, and you could choose. There's
Share
a few.
it.
Yeah, definitely.
So you'll send it to us.
I sure will.
Perfect. We're going to do just that.
Okay.
Tell us about now outside in other categories that you serve, and what else is a uplifting story?
Sure. Well, I'm going to hopefully uplifting. I'll do my best to share it, but I think one that is impactful for everyone, across our country, is working with individuals and youth who have been diagnosed with autism or neurodiversity,
which is on the uprise.
And it is. And again, you want your child, your loved one, to be part of a community, to have the opportunity to go to camp, to experience those things, and I think of our families that maybe have been kicked out of other camps or of other programs. And we have an amazing team that call in advance and talk through what it's going to be the most successful for your child and how can we best support them here, as we're taking them to so many different programs and a lot of change, which can be quite difficult. And so for me to hear, we have families that are flying from Atlanta, New York, across the country to come out for a week-long summer camp with us because of the empowering components that it brings, for what it provides for kind of next steps for their loved one and for their child. And then the best situation for us is that then a lot of times people feel like this is home or their second home.
Right.
And so then we'll get to see someone come back and say, hey, my child is ready for an internship for people with disabilities, or they're here to volunteer. They might need a little bit more support, but they'd like to give back and be an active part of this community. And so you're not kicked out of the National Ability Center, right? We continue to be able to serve and to help build those skills. And so I love for many of our families that they've entered in at a young age, and now their child is aging out from a supportive services within their communities and are being able to provide adult skills and development through our internship programs and volunteering.
I don't think that I've done, I've been blessed with some good success, and somebody helped me. And as a gift at 18, I had somebody become my mentor, owner of a restaurant. And he gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich, and told me if I'd read it, he'd be my mentor. And it came at a cost. When I accomplished the goals I had of being a business owner 8 years after that, he would tell me what it was, and it was I had to give back in time tithing one night a week for the rest of my life. Thousands have I've been able to sit down with, and I can't benefit other than given the gift that I was given. And the reason I bring that up, I learned through that there is no larger gift you can give a mom or a dad than to help them with their children and to see a smile on their child's face that maybe wasn't there before. And they'll never forget that in their lives, and they'll give back. Yeah.
I think it's building strong communities, right, is what we really need to have, right? Support networks, and that it takes a village, and that's a good representation of what we see at the National Ability Center.
Well, I want to share with you, 1 out of 4. That is really interesting. I just recently finished building a new home, and we have a member of our family that is wheelchaired.
Okay.
And so I thought to myself, okay, it's 3 levels. And then we started thinking, well, wait a minute. How can you have a member of your family that only can access 1 level of your home? And so then I started looking with the architect. We're going to build this home that every level's
accessible.
Yeah. And then it occurred to me, and maybe since this is the home that I want to live in the rest of my life, maybe I'm building it for myself.
There you go. Right.
So we put in an elevator. We put in a room that is ADA compliant all the way through, and we've just completed it. And I tell you what, I know he's excited to visit because the thought was given that he's an important member of our family, and he should be included in every part of what we do as a family.
Well, congrats. Good for you. That's amazing. And it's what we should be doing, right? In our in everything that we build, trails, access.
Well, and we look at it in my lifetime, I'm seeing still streets that are being made accessible. So we haven't gotten this right as a cities and state and local governments and federal yet. We're still working on it. It certainly is better. Mm-hmm. But we were late to come to, really all you got to stop and think is, how do we make people will forget what you say, they will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel. And that ought to be the starting point of every decision that we make in our lives, in government, in business, in families, all the way through.
Having the right people at the table, too, to help you through that, right? Because we're all going through different things. And so that's something that we can all do as we think about developing something, whatever it may be, is let's have good representation of all people.
Exactly. Now, this is a pamphlet that you've given me. And inside this pamphlet, I'm sure that it talks about a lot of what you do. Tell our viewers exactly how they find out more. And then more importantly, I'm sure that there's a place that if somebody wishes to give back, that they can with your organization.
Yes. So the best way is you can go online and you can look at our website, discovernac.org. But I'd rather talk to you, and so would our amazing staff team. So you can also just give us a call and we can talk you through the 21 different options. Our phone number is 435-649-3991. And as I mentioned before, to me, the National Ability Center is a place for everyone. So whether you need our services and want to enjoy recreation with us, or you're interested in volunteering and giving back, as you talked about, we cannot run our program without volunteers. So I ask that people share about us. Let's make sure that everyone knows about the resources that we have. And if you have the opportunity to support our scholarship fund, yes, you could give back instead of time. You could give back with those dollars so that we can keep our scholarship fund going. Last year alone, we gave out over $6 million in program subsidies and scholarships.
So tell me more about a scholarship. What is that? Tell me about
Yes, you go and you say, I want to do all of these activities, and then there's a price to those. There is a cost that we list on our website to register, and then you go, I can't afford that with what I have going on in my life and those certain things. So you apply for a scholarship.
So typically, is there a different level of scholarships? Tell us a little bit about a scholarship. What is the cost of somebody given a scholarship in their name or however you do it?
So the scholarships are based on the amount of programming you sign up for. Each program costs a little bit different, right? Our equestrian program, those horses are expensive. Being out on the lake behind the powerboat, those are expensive programs. So we'll list off what the cost is. And then you put in there and say, based on my medical expenses, based on these things, we don't ask you how much money you make. We don't ask any of that. But for me to participate, you get to choose. I can cover 50% of this cost, or I need a 90% scholarship to be able to come. You put that on the document. It's reviewed by a scholarship committee. And I can tell you in my 23 years, we have not turned anyone away due to their inability to pay. So help us understand where you are. We want you to come in and recreate. We know those benefits are really important.
So businesses and others contribute a scholarship amount? Or
private donors, yes. There's a lot of different ways to give. Every little bit helps. We run fundraising events as well to help with that scholarship fund. All of that can be found on our website. And so you can donate there and then help us to continue to say yes and impact more lives.
Well, perfect. Well, I want to thank you very much for being on our program today. And I want to give you a copy of my new book,
All right.
Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich. From that 18-year-old kid who got the book, I was able to rewrite it in modern English. And today I'm the world's largest licensee of Dr. Hill's work.
I love it.
And I hope that you enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being on our program.